DiverSync is a weekly netcast where we talk about the world of scuba diving, fantastic diving opportunities, and some of the happenings in the underwater world. We also provide tips and discussions about scuba diving and get excited about upcoming dives and adventures. Learn how you can join us on our dives and become part of the program by following DiverSync on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram, or by visiting our website at www.diversync.com. Welcome to DiverSync, the netcast and podcast for scuba divers. My name is Rich Synowiec, and you're listening to episode 516. And I'm recording this on October 9th, 2023, and I'm doing it a little bit differently. I had a good long conversation with myself on the drive up and down back from Wazee this weekend, and I looked and I said, you know what? This video thing is something cool. It's something I want to do, but I'm getting away from a regular podcast on a regular basis. So I decided to go back to what I know. And I'm real comfortable with sitting down and talking to people on a recorder. I have the face for radio, and I know that. And I also know that I am just too pressed for time most of the time to be able to do what I want to do with this podcast, to be able to talk to you guys on a regular basis. So I'm trying to go back to a week. I'm going to do every 2 weeks for the start, but I'm going to shoot for every 2 weeks, and maybe I can get back to every week. But as one of my listeners told me I should shoot for 12 for 12, I'm not even doing that. So I'm 12 for 12 diver, but I'm not a 12 for 12 podcaster. So I'm at least going to do that. I'm going to get you guys at least a 20 to 25 minute episode every week. And that's my goal. And I figure I tell you that, and then maybe it'll happen. And maybe it'll be something that's there. Now, I'm still recording this in a video format. I'm still actually shooting video while I'm doing it. And the idea is that maybe I'll edit it back, but it definitely will use shorts. When I first got the idea of video, I really liked going back and looking through the old podcasts and then looking through the video and the video snippets and then aligning what I talked about before and being a storyteller and being a good storyteller, and then not being distracted by the video that was in front of me, and later just figure out that I could put the video out there. So you won't be hearing about Isle Royale quite yet. I will talk about that as time goes on. I'm going to talk about more current events right now, and hopefully it's something that you guys will find interesting, and hopefully it's me trying to not repeat myself too much, but we're going back to the conversation around a campfire kind of thing, or around a beer, or sitting at the lunch table, chatting about the cool things that are coming up in diving. So the first thing I want to talk about is this weekend. I taught a Tec60 CCR at Lake Wazee, and it's been a 2 week. This is I'm getting a lot of requests for weekend instructions. So the weekend IDC is something that's coming regularly to Divers Incorporated, which means you don't have to take off a lot of work. If you are a weekly person, can get Fridays off. Most of it will be done online as far as the lecture is concerned. And then we'll have Friday evenings and then possibly Saturdays and Sundays, and work around schedules. And I'm on my second one doing that, and it's worked out very, very well. As my devices all blow up around me, I forgot to turn those off. But the idea is that I have had a request for it twice, and I think it differentiates me from the week-long IDCs you can take someplace warm and tropical. And that's something that a friend of mine had taught me about and talked to me about, and I wanted to test market it, and it worked. And then this weekend was a Tec60 CCR, which is typically a 5-day program. It usually runs Tuesday, Wednesday here, and then a Friday travel day, and then Saturday, Sunday, someplace where we can get a lot of depth. And typically that place is Wazee Lake in Brockway. I think it's Brockway County. It's Black River, Wisconsin. right near Black River, Wisconsin. But that's where I was this weekend for the last half of the Tec60 CCR. And it's pretty neat. The guys that I had in this class were probably some of the most accomplished divers that I've had in a class in a long time, where their challenges for themselves were ones that were very, I'm going to say, humorous if you were going to look at it from a standpoint of being perfectionists. Like, I really harp on line dependency. So you don't want to be dependent on a line if you can help it. You want to get your buoyancy control to the point where you can touch a line, but it's not something that you want to use as a crutch. And these guys wouldn't touch a line to save their life. It was just a really cool thing to see. For the people that don't know, the Tec60 CCR teaches you how to dive Trimix in a rebreather to a depth of 200 feet maximum. And there's a lot of reasons why there's a 200-foot maximum, but Lake Wazee gets a little bit deeper than 200 feet. So we were able to get our 200-foot maximum on yesterday's dive. Today is a holiday, which is why I'm able to do this. And we're closed on holidays at Divers Incorporated. But we started out at White Star last weekend, and now we finished up this weekend. And the weekend format, although it burns 2 weekends of mine, is not an awful format to do. And as long as I have the time, I think I would do it as a regular thing. So I'm pretty excited about diving with them. The reason they were so accomplished, by the way, is the two guys were guides at Bonne Terre Mine in Missouri. I'll give them a shout out. That's a great place to dive. I've done episodes on it in the past. I will do episodes on it again in the future because it is such a spectacular place to dive. As I take a dramatic sip of my coffee, which is something cool we can do on radio, not on video. But the idea is that Bonne Terre Mine allows those guys to have perfected their buoyancy control, because they're going into places where it's pretty much been untouched for a long time. And so if they stick their head in there, they're going to be the ones that stir up the silt if they're not careful. But they were excellent. Actually, everyone in the course. We had a previous student who was also a dive master. Well, he's also a staff instructor, so he played dive master. But he joined us. Ron joined us on this trip. So shout out to Matt and Dylan for completing their Tec60 CCR this weekend. So it was an exciting time, and it's a long drive, but it's something that can be that if you have, I mean, I'm a huge fan of podcasts and listening to podcasts, obviously, and I'm also a huge fan of the audio side of the podcast. So I listen to a lot of YouTube. I don't watch it in the car, but I listen to a lot of YouTube in the car, and I am listening to quite a few books in the car. I got through 2 of them this week and last week and the week before. With all my travels. So I recommend a couple of them. The Demon Haunted World by Carl Sagan. It was written in 1996, and it kind of blew me away. That one I went through again. It was a good one. And then the one I just finished was Crushing It by Gary Vaynerchuk. And that one is a segue from 2 other books that I didn't know. I just picked something because I kind of like his podcasting ideas and video podcasting ideas and his social media ideas. And there's another one that I just read. It's called 12 and a Half. And it's a really good business book. It teaches you how to use emotion in business in a little bit more of a positive manner. So all good stuff. So anyway, we're talking about diving. And this one, I'm going to tell you the last dive. On dive number, this one's 3 dives over the weekend at Wazee. And the first dive, maximum depth of 180 feet. The second dive, maximum depth of 200, but we only get about 185 because there's a ledge down there that requires a little bit of a swim to get over that ledge down to 200. And so we only have to do 165 in the last dive, but we shoot for 200 as our mission. And we follow a line that's marked Hoffa. If you guys follow me on social media, I really suggest that you guys click on the subscribe button. This is on YouTube, even though it's going to be one fixed picture for a while. But I am going to use the audio from it for shorts and things like that. And I'm also going to be putting out shorts and videos and stills, and I'm spreading out. I'm putting my effort not so much into the one episode of video, but the podcast will be the pillar. And then I'll have a diversity into all of the empire that I have. I have if you follow us on the new X, Twitter, old Twitter, used to be Twitter. I now have revamped Divers Inc., Divers Incorporated. It's at Divers Inc. That's my dive center, but it's also going to have a lot of this stuff. There's going to be a DiverSync Twitter page. I'm not sure how I'm going to match that up yet. I'm actually building the technology as we go, because quite frankly, when the podcast went away in 2020, I was about 4 months past the revolution in technology. And so we've got a TikTok page. What I'd love you to do is if you guys could go on YouTube. If you're listening to this on the podcast, that's great. I appreciate that. You're going to find it on Spotify. If you can find it on YouTube for me and put in the comment section what you'd like to see, what you'd like to do, what your primary, a big help would be just to comment anywhere you find it. Comment that this is where I get most of your information. This is where I get most of your stuff. And so as an audio podcast, I'm hoping I can put it on Facebook as well. The videos, snippets, and all that kind of stuff will go Facebook, Instagram. Instagram will be DiverSync. My Divers Incorporated page is managed by someone else, another course director, who I hired to do nothing but that. The quality is fantastic and his results have been great. So I'm not going to touch that for a while. But in Gary's book, Crushing It, he does say that we should post more on multiple platforms. So that's kind of what I'm doing for you guys. So I want to get the information out there. If you have something that you want me to talk about, even if I've talked about it before, I've got another project in the works, and I've got someone helping me out with that one too. But the project that I have in the works was I'm going to go and revamp. I'm basically turning my 10 years of podcasts, my 516 some odd episodes, into print so that I can better understand what I talked about way back in the day, because I don't remember. And it comes from my heart, comes from what I'm doing. And I don't really remember what I talk about, but I know that a lot of it's got good snippets, but I know a lot of it has to be updated. A lot of it has to be rediscovered and requantified and turned into opinion to fact, and where I got the information and that sort of thing. So I want to do that. But as far as social media goes, your support is what I need. The people that are on Patreon have been getting content. I focus on that a lot more than I probably should, but there's a couple of really cool things coming, and I want to talk about that. So I probably already talked about the Apple thing that Oceanic's been doing, but their camera is supposed to come out. I was told it's supposed to be out next week at the earliest, so October 15th. And it's supposed to be out no later than the end of the month, October, which is great, because I have bought myself an iPhone, ordered it. It hasn't gotten here yet, but I've ordered myself an old used iPhone, and I'm going to learn how to use it. I'm not an iPhone guy. I'm an Android guy, but from my understanding is this housing only works with iPhones, but from my understanding of it, it is amazing. So it's 130-foot housing. It's not a deep one. I want to get good at it because I need a replacement rental for the Paralens. So I bought a bunch of Paralens for the quarry last year, and Paralens went out of business. So that's kind of what my DEMA is going to be like. So anybody going to DEMA too, I'll be there. I'm going to be there for the whole week. If you send me a message on Instagram or Facebook, I will hopefully meet up with you. I'd like to meet who listens to me, get your insights. I'm going to carry around a recorder with me, just letting you know. I'm carrying around a recorder with me, and I'm going to be at least some of my conversations, I'm going to be recording them. So anyway, so this new camera is a housing for an iPhone. It'll do anything from the iPhone 6 on, from my understanding. I haven't looked at the paperwork and stuff. I've only seen a prototype. The prototype was blue, but the new ones are white. And the excitement of it is that you can download the app for the camera, and then you can also download the app for the dive computer, and the Oceanic Plus dive computer for the Apple Watch can play on the phone while you're diving. and it doesn't affect the video. I don't think there's a video overlay. Garmin has a video overlay, but not a video overlay, a still overlay. They can put the dive profile over it, but it's just another exciting way to take images underwater. And I'm excited about that because I love technology and I love how dive gear works. I've been really lapsing in sending you guys information about technology, and more of that's going to be in the stories. I'm actually trying some new ideas to get more and more content. The problem is I need to build a process to take that content and put it online, because my days are seriously exciting, and it doesn't necessarily mean that I'm diving all the time. What it means is that I have at my fingertips some of the coolest technology that I mean, some of it I can't even talk about yet. And because we're doing a lot of prototyping for other companies through Divers Incorporated, and my whole family is involved in it. And we're shooting video about it, we're shooting things about it, but I can't release it until I get permission to, because a lot of this stuff is on non-disclosure agreement. So hopefully at DEMA they start talking about some of the new stuff coming, because it's really hard to keep it under wraps. I do have something really cool that we did and tried, and one of my dive masters tested it, and I kind of want to bring it to your attention because I thought it was a fantastic idea and I didn't come up with it. Through one of our through the company that we run called ScubaCrap.com, and if you haven't checked that out, you could. And by the way, on the side note, we're looking at ScubaCrap.com, which is basically a trade company. You send in your gear, we give you a value for it, and you trade it. A lot of people have been selling me gear, so it kind of sucks when they start selling me gear because I don't really have the money to buy that stuff. But when you start looking at what you want, reach out a message, because I get a ton of little stuff like safety sausage, lift bags, reels, things that we're not really reselling. We're piling it up and then we're going to sell it as bulk. But if you'd have something that you're interested in, you can reach out and ask that. ScubaCrap.com. But through that, we got these cuff rings, and I got a dry suit that I bought. And in the dry suit, there was a guy that had snap-on rings like I have. So I have snap-on rings. Waterproof makes the Ultima set, which is something that I absolutely love. And I probably should do little snippets about the stuff that I do in my gear. And that's one of the projects that me and my daughter have, my daughter Natalie, have kind of been talking about, because she wants to start getting into the social media stuff as well. But these cuffs came with a set of gloves that snapped in, but it also came with a set of seals that snapped in. And one of the struggles that I have is that I don't dive with seals in my suit. I trust my gloves, and it solves a lot of problems with the heated gloves, and it solves a lot of problems with the way that everything binds up and makes your fingers tingle and all that kind of stuff. So I basically ripped my latex or my silicone seals out by accident one day and just left them. And that was segued into, now I just put a little strip of seal in there and that's it. So yeah, if I pop my glove, I get wet all the way up to the elbow. But if you pop your glove, you're going to get wet anyways, eventually, because you got to have some kind of tube in between the seals. But I put these seals together. I showed these seals to one of my dive masters. He says, "Hey, build me a set." And so I built Jason a set, and he came back from from last weekend and said they were awesome. So I'm got my set built, or my set aside. The problem is I put gloves on them, and I don't know which set of gloves are leaking, because once I jump in the water with a set of gloves and it doesn't leak, I'm using that set of gloves until they do leak. So that's kind of how that is. But lots of neat stuff every day, because we go through like tomorrow. Actually, I was going to do it sometime today, but I figure I get caught up on office work because we are closed for Columbus Day or Indigenous Peoples Day. I don't know what the day is called anymore, but we go with bank holidays because my people work a lot of weekends and work a lot of extra time and don't usually get extra time off. So when we can get a extra time off, I give them that time off. But oh man, there's a lot of stuff here, but I don't know where to go to it. Anyway, with tomorrow, I am actually rebuilding a bunch of rebreathers because, as you know, Divers Incorporated became a rebreather center when I went to the factory last year in October and became a factory service tech for the Prism 2. And so that has taken off, and it's taken a ton of my time because it's, unfortunately, I find that I'm chaining myself to things that only I can do. So eventually it'll get better, but it's good. So the next thing I want to segue into is something that came up this weekend in a conversation, but because the guys were guides at Bon Terre, they see this as well. But what we've been seeing at White Star kind of concerns me a little bit in that maybe I don't think anybody listening to this program would be I mean, the 5 of you that listen to this program, I don't think any of you guys would have this kind of an issue, but you may see people that have this kind of an issue that you want to, I'm going to say, intervene with, because some of these people do need an intervention. I don't want to embarrass anybody, but I am seeing, and so I don't have any names. So I don't feel that this is embarrassment because I'm actually not calling out people, and the chances of the people who I am using as an example, even knowing I'm talking about them, are probably weird. And it's probably not somebody that's going to listen to this. So anyway, not going to struggle with it anymore. So what I'm looking at is, we are getting a rash of people that are showing up at White Star who are renting gear because their gear no longer fits. I am on a struggle right now to lose about 40 pounds, and I've lost 20 of it. I'm doing pretty good since January. I've been documenting my struggles. I'll put a couple of podcasts together after it's been a year and see where my results are. If I don't have any good results, I'm not going to talk about it. But but what I'm seeing is people are coming because they don't fit in their BCDs anymore because of COVID. And it's been 3 years now. But what I found is, over that period of, I'm going to say, that break, people were stressed. They were stress eaters. They weren't as active as they used to, so they packed on quite a few pounds, and now they're out diving where they're thinking they can pick up where they left off. Now, a friend of mine sent me a paper a while back. It was a scientific paper, and it was talking about how it turns out that divers who dive regularly can build pathways to better process nitrogen, so they can handle decompression a whole lot better. And so we can not only exercise for the sake of exercising, we can exercise and dive more for the sake of diving more, but diving more now makes us more efficient divers, physiologically as well as physically. So that was a really cool little study, but I'm seeing it now and probably hyper aware of it now because I'm watching these people they're struggling really hard. And we had to do a rescue 2 weeks ago for a couple. Both of them popped up and both of them panicked and both of them were out of their mind with terror. And they were both advanced open water divers, but hadn't been in the water in 3 years. And they figured they'd come out and wing it. There's a reason there's a Reactivate in every single training agency. There's a reason there's a Scuba refresher in every single training agency. And even if you're not going to do the Scuba refresher, find someone that's willing to take responsibility for you to talk you through and maybe talk you down, because you might want to be talked back and talked out of the conversation of being able to dive after a long hiatus. So in this case, there were people that were doing that. And lo and behold, last weekend, the last weekend was sorry, someone bumped me again on my phone. It's my day off and it still blows up. These watches are cool, but they tend to distract you. But the last weekend, I pulled up to Gilboa Quarry because what we do is we do Saturday at White Star, because the maximum depth we can do is 60 feet, and White Star is perfect for that. Get all the gas pumped up, and then we have a maximum depth of 135 feet. Actually, it's 145 feet, but we can't get deeper than 135 feet at Gilboa. I mean, anybody who tells you Gilboa is deeper is lying to you. But 139 was the deepest we ever got there, ever. But in this case, we weren't necessarily doing that. But we pulled up, and there was, as I was carrying my lines down to drop them in, to drop stage bottles down, there's a whole process of setting up. There was a gentleman who was about my height, but probably weighed 3 times as much, who looked like he was about ready to have a heart attack, in a neoprene dry suit, standing there, sitting on the bench in doubles, huffing and puffing like he had just run a marathon. And I was concerned for him. He did not look good. And I asked him if he needed help. And he said, no, I'm just having a struggle day. This is our first day back in a while, blah, 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 blah. Well, it turns out the 3 of them had not been diving in quite a while, or that's what they indicated. I didn't ask him. I didn't want to talk to him. I didn't really want to be part of that, because I wasn't focusing on my class. But we had, they were huffing and puffing and trying to get their weight right and all that kind of stuff. But it turns out that he had to buy a new dry suit, and it was his first time diving it. So when you're trying out a brand new piece of gear, I'm going to give you a suggestion, and you can take it for what it is, but let's not do a 130-foot dive or a 120-foot dive with brand new gear. Let's go try it a little bit shallower. Let's go try it where there's a little bit more help. And let's go try it where there's not a really steep climb down to the dock, to climb right back up to get your weights, to climb back down to get your stuff, to climb back up. I mean, the guy was wearing, he said he came up, this is his 3rd time up, that's why he was winded. And I said, why is it your 3rd time up? He says, well, I just keep having to get more weight. And I looked at him, and I swear to God, he was wearing 40 pounds, which isn't crazy in and of itself if you weren't also wearing 115 pounds of just tank. And I was absolutely sure that when we got back from our dive, there would be EMS working on him. It was not my place to have a discussion with him. He was with friends that I'm not surprised did not have that place with him. But I went down and walked down to the dock, came back up, and his doubles were laying on the ground. And I don't know where he was, probably in the bathroom washing off. But my wife asked if I had seen him fall. And it turns out he tripped, and he smacked his face on the ground, and then rolled over and turtled on his doubles and just sat there. All of his friends just kind of looked at him. And this was a story told to me 3rd person. But it turned out he cut his face, and that was it. I'm a big fan of the 3-strike rule. If you get 3 strikes, like if you're having, I mean, if you get in the water and you don't have enough weight, strike number 1. If you get up there and still don't have number weight, strike number 2. And if you fall and smash your face against the ground and you're wearing doubles and 40 pounds of lead, that's strike number 3. Hang up your fins for the day, go home and reevaluate your life, and then pick another day that's a little bit less strenuous to go and do that. That's just me. But then again, I tend to be a little bit more pragmatic about that. Anyway, I don't want to leave on I want to leave on a high note. It's getting to be a little bit fall out. I was chilly this weekend, and I didn't bring a sweatshirt, so I was using my boat coat pretty much everywhere, which is nice because you look like a flasher when you're going in stuff with my boat coat. But I didn't get arrested, so we're good. So, but Wisconsin was very welcoming. Wazee was closed, sort of. They weren't manned, so everything was on its honor kind of thing. That was all right. It wasn't very crowded. There was a lot of divers there, but it wasn't very crowded where we were, and it was great. There's that kind of brings us to it's a little bit chillier out, and so it's time to put away the wetsuits and get out dry suits. If you are diving a wetsuit, make sure you have a place to go where it's warm. And that brings up one last thing. So one last thing, we did a dive social on Monday. Yeah, Monday. We had a dive social a week ago, and we had a new friend come in, and I'll leave her nameless, but but she was a wonderful individual, and she was talking about how excited she was to be a diver, and how excited she was that she finally found a place that liked to dive. And so, seeing that I had never met her before, I decided I'd have a conversation with her to find out. I mean, it's like market research, right? If you've taken a class from somewhere else, if you've gone someplace else, it's like market research that I can do. I can find out what you like and what you trick. And if you want to share this with me, I would love to have a conversation with you, set something up, even if it's just chatting. But she was talking about how she fell in love with scuba diving, and that she thought that she would be a diver as active as you could. And I said, so where have you been diving? And she says, I haven't been diving since my open water certification. I said, how long ago was that? She says, 2 years ago. Dramatic pause inserted here. I was shocked. If you really love diving, I hear this a lot too, that you really loved diving, but you never got into it. So obviously she didn't buy the equipment. But the reason she didn't buy the equipment, and this was something that she said to me, she said, I really wish I had done better research onto what I was buying when I became a diver. And I said, what do you mean by what you were buying? She says, I went to the other PADI store and I thought it was the same as you. And then when I found out, did my research afterwards, when I got angry with them and started talking to people and doing my research afterwards, I found out I should have gone with you guys. And I said, so why was that even a conversation? And she said, they never went diving afterwards. And they took me into the quarry in May. I said, what, end of May is not that awful. She says, no, it was the beginning of May. And I said, I bet you were cold. She says, yeah, I was near hypothermic and had to quit my first weekend, and I had to re-sign up and do it again. And I said, so did they credit you at all? She said, no. I felt that they were shysters. That's what she said. She felt I completely felt scammed when it was all done. And I lost my taste for that shop and didn't want to try something else until I happened upon you guys one day and walked into your shop, talked to you about social. And now I've been waiting for a social to happen, because you walked in the middle of August, and we don't have a social in September because it's Labor Day. And so she was waiting for the October one, and she actually had called to make sure that we were having, and she was wonderful. And we're going to hopefully see her out and about and diving a little bit more often. But I want this to be a lesson that, and I've talked about it in the past, but I think it's going to be a lesson that I'm going to try to do maybe an ebook or something on it, because I hear it a lot. You really should go in and have a conversation with someone about the classes that they teach before you sign up for the class. Have a conversation, have them express references. We'd be happy to do it. We do it all the time. And we let people take an opportunity. We give them the first chapter, if they want, of the e-learning to make sure that that matches up. And then we also do a conversation where we tell them a little bit about how it goes. And your instructor should do that. Every class should do that. I offer the assessment dive to people, and the assessment dive is basically so both parties work out. You pay me for the assessment dive. If you don't want to take a tech course, that money can go towards anything in the store. I get paid, you don't lose your money. But that's one of those things, because I did this a long time ago with a person I didn't even know. He was an East Coast diver. And when this whole assessment was done and he had decided that he wanted to take the Trimix class from me, I said, is there anything else you need to add? Any questions you have? And he looked at me, he says, I'm glad you're not an asshole. And I'm like, well, thanks. That's good. He goes, I said, where'd that come from? He said, you're the only person that can teach this class around here at the time. And he said, I'm glad you're not an asshole. I'm glad you're not a jerk. I really do enjoy the idea of taking a class from you. And he ended up taking the class and having a great time. Anyway, I want to limit these to about a half hour, and that way your commute is safe. You're not sitting there sitting in the parking lot going to be late for work because you want to finish hearing me talk. Hopefully the 5 of you that listen to this show are enjoying it enough that you come back for more and follow me on other platforms. DiverSync is on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, which is now X, YouTube, TikTok, and we're actually going to be doing a couple more new ones that were suggested to me. There's one called Clubhouse that's out there, which is like, it would be the opportunity for you guys to call in people. So maybe we start a forum in there that we can all just sit and chat about diving. You guys can help me get topics for the podcast. So I didn't do anything in the background. You can see Rex in the corner if you're looking at this in video, because I decided later that we were going to do this in video. Rex is in the background over there on the couch listening to my voice, and he's happy because I was gone all weekend. And then my fish tank stuff's behind me, and I haven't cleaned my office, so that's all you're going to get to see about it. So until next week, you guys go out, hopefully get a little bit more diving in before the fall sets in. For you guys that are warm and tropical, don't ever tell me that it's cold, and get out there and dive some more. And hopefully until next week, we'll see you. DiverSync is a cooperation between Divers Incorporated and Divers Media Group. You can download archived past editions worldwide over the internet at DiverSync.com. If you wish to support DiverSync financially, you can find us on Patreon for bonus content, announcements of live performances, product giveaways, and other opportunities to be part of the program. Help us promote our netcast by telling your friends and dive buddies to subscribe to DiverSync on YouTube and Spotify. The opinions that you hear on DiverSync are not necessarily those of any station, website, network, or advertiser. These netcasts are not intended to substitute for professional diver training. Scuba diving does involve risk and should never be attempted without the proper instructions, supervision, and training. Have any questions or comments? We'd love to hear from you. We are on Facebook and Instagram for messages, or you can email us via our website at DiverSync.com.